Hello, everybody. I want to introduce myself. My name is Sergeant Brian Bauer. I am a coordinator for Silent Witness program. Silent Witness is a nonprofit organization. It's been around since 1979. Silent Witness prides themselves on being that intermediate where any information, any kind of tips that witnesses, folks have in the community, they can provide those tips to Silent Witness in order to solve crimes that are affecting us along our community areas. With that being said, on behalf of Nicholas's family and friends, I would like to thank everybody for coming in this afternoon to be part of this. Today, Silent Witness, in conjunction with the Gilbert Police Department, would like to address the public in hopes that a witness out there who has some information will have enough courage to come forward and provide those tips to Silent Witness in order to gain more information about this particular case. This case that we're highlighting is a case that's been 5 years. Originally started in May 27th, 2020, where Gilbert police officers responded to a call where Nicholas Cordova was found killed. Nick's wife, Alysha, is here along with close family to speak on what their loss and what the loss has done to affect their family, them personally. We will be providing questions and answers after we're finished at the podium. Again, I want to let everybody know and encourage anybody out there that Silent Witness is a part of the solution, and we want you to join us in that solution, in ending crime, finding people responsible for these horrific crimes, and making sure that their day in courts is sooner rather than later. A lot of the times these crimes can be solved much more quickly with the help of our community members in providing these tips, providing surveillance cameras, pictures. The smallest piece of information can lead detectives down the right path to find the person or persons ultimately responsible. Now I'd like to introduce Commander for the Gilbert Police Department, Commander Joe Rodriguez. He will be putting some of the details of the case in context for our viewers.
Good afternoon. What we know is that on May 27th, 2020, at about 5:30 p.m., officers from the Gilbert Police Department responded to a business complex near Cooper and Guadalupe Roads in Gilbert for an unknown trouble call. When our officers arrived at the scene, they found Nick unresponsive. Nick was pronounced deceased, and our investigators took over the investigation. We recognize it's been a long and painful 5 years for Nick's family as we have steadily combed through every lead looking for answers. We want to be clear that the Gilbert Police Department is committed to solving this case and bringing the individuals involved to justice. If you have any information, no matter how small you think it may be, we urge you to please come forward and contact Silent Witness or the Gilbert Police Department. It could be your information that is the missing piece to help us solving this crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. I kind of want to reiterate a little bit more information. Detectives, families, our community as a whole are searching for answers. We want to know what took place on that day in May 27, 2020 as much as everybody else does. We want to make sure that the person responsible for this doesn't commit additional crimes. So regardless of the information that you may have that you think is insignificant, that could be the breaking point for this investigation. So with that being said, we ask to be part of the solution. If you have any information, please call into 480-WITNESS, 480-TESTIGO, and provide an anonymous tip. There are rewards available in this particular case. The family, along with Silent Witness, has contributed $20,000 in rewards, leading to the arrest of the suspect or suspects involved in this particular case. These rewards help entice folks out there to not just pay attention to these cases, but may be able to be the enticement that leads to more information being provided and tips coming into Silent Witness. Again, if you have any information, please call out to 480-WITNESS, 480-TESTIGO, or you can go to our website at silentwitness.org and provide your own electronic digital tip. All the tips will remain anonymous. With that being said, Alysha, could you please tell the folks out there who are watching what this case has done to affect you personally, your family, and how the loss of Nick has overall influenced or affected your family, please.
Hello. I wrote everything out just so I can make sure that I say everything that I want to say. So to tell you guys about Nick, he was such a handsome man. He had the most beautiful eyes, and he was known for his infectious smile and his great laugh. He was the kindest and most selfless man that I've ever known. You can ask anyone that knew him that was the kind of man he was. I mean, you ask anyone and they're going to say, like, the first characteristic they would say is just he's kind. He would have literally given the shirt off of his back to someone that needed it. He was loyal and trustworthy and ambitious. He was adventurous. He loved being outdoors and off-roading, riding in his Jeep, camping, hiking, but riding bikes with the kids. He was a jack of all trades. He could fix anything from brake pads to scraped up knees to air conditioning units. He was the best husband and father. He was the ultimate family man. The kids and I, we meant the world to him, and he meant everything to us. He was the most amazing son and brother, uncle, cousin, and friend. He loved everyone, and everyone loved him. He was hardworking. He worked so hard to provide a good life for me and the kids. He would wake up before the sun was up, and then sometimes not be home until it was after dark. But he always made it a point to call or text or check in to just make sure that he was in the loop with what the kids and I were doing. And he was so active in their lives, and he never missed a doctor's appointment, a pep assembly. He was always there for the kids and I. I would get irritated having to schedule things around him, around his crazy work schedule, but looking back, it's that extra effort that he put in those little moments that I hold on to as I have to do this alone now. Did you guys have anything to say about? Tagged on everything. Okay. As far as the second part, how his loss has affected us, you can see that his loss is still affecting us almost 5 years in. His death has affected us tremendously. He was the glue that held us all together, and without the glue, we're all just falling apart. It feels like it just happened yesterday, but at the same time, it's like an eternity. We're all still trying to learn how to do life without him, but when someone impacts your life in such a powerful way and then you lose them in such a senseless and horrific way, it makes it a lot harder to do. We're forever just going to have to live without our glue, and there's no amount of time that's going to be able to make us whole again. Did you have anything to add? Okay.
Is there any questions that anybody has for the family? And please, if you want to answer, please let everybody know who you are, your name, last name, and how your relationship with Nick was.
Can you just talk about the shirts that you guys were all wearing?
Yeah. One of our friends designed. Do I need to say my name again? Yeah. Okay.
What's your name?
Alysha Cordova is Nick's wife. One of our shirts designed. Dylan, you want to show the back? So the front, it's fudge yeah, because he didn't like to cuss in front of the kids, so he would always say fudge yeah instead of the bad word. And he was a huge Cowboys fan. Was in his blood. His grandpa was a huge Cowboys fan, and his family was a Cowboys fan. It has his date. He was born and the date that he passed, and then Justice for Nick Cordova. Justice for Nick Cordova. That's the hashtag that we have been using to talk about him and everything else. And then the back that Dylan just showed you, that was his truck. He had this black Dodge Cummins truck that was in the shop getting work done forever, and we didn't get it. He never got to see it done. We didn't get it back to after he had passed, and so that truck was like everything to him, but also a pain in my butt because I had to hear about all of the things he was doing to it and all of the issues. And then our friend drew him up on the back, in the back of his truck, and what he was doing with his hand, that's something that you would feel like he would do sometimes. So.
How old were the kids when he passed, and how have they been dealing with it all this time?
Capri was 5 and Cruz was 8. Yeah, he was 7, about to be 8. Yeah, 7, about to be 8. They were really young whenever it happened, but their dad was the best thing in their lives. I mean, I'm their mom, but their dad was just gold. So, I mean, it's affected them a lot. They're trying to cope. Cruz, my son, he's really angry. He doesn't understand why the people that took Nick aren't in jail. And my little girl, she's just got a heart just like Nick, and she doesn't like to show a lot of emotion, and she tries to stay strong for all of us, but they're hurting. Their entire world has been rocked since losing him, and again 5 years out, and they're still just super affected by his loss.
And I understand that they were on FaceTime with Nick when this happened. I'm sure it kind of traumatized by everything too.
Yeah, luckily they didn't see a whole lot during the FaceTime call. It was like my little girl said it looked like muffled, something was going on, and so I quickly took the phone, but they were standing behind me the whole time I was on the phone with the 911 operator, so they heard me say, I think I saw a gun, and I think I saw him like getting hit. I think there is a fight that's happening, and so they knew that something had happened, that there was some sort of struggle that happened, and that he had possibly gotten hurt.
What have the last several years been like for your family as far as the investigation goes? Obviously, the surveillance video of at least one of the suspects was released just a couple of weeks after this happened. What have you heard since then? How are you feeling knowing that video's been out there, but still no arrest?
I don't want to get too deep into the criminal investigation, but it's frustrating. It's hard knowing that there are leads and that there are things that we've been told and then nothing's happening. I do feel like Nick's case has been kind of brushed under the rug, and whether that's for good reason or not, it's as his wife, when I'm trying to bring awareness to his case and get justice for him and advocate for him because he's not here to do that for himself, it's frustrating because we don't have any answers, and I feel like we should have some sort of answers with the time frame that it's been since we've lost him.
Can you talk about all the ways your family has really kind of taken charge to get attention on this case? I know podcasts, social media efforts. Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I feel like early on I did quite a few like interviews with the news channels, and then Tyson Draper, he's a YouTuber, he was really big in advocating for Nick, and we just recently did an interview, but I took a few years. I mean, Gilbert PD just kind of asked to take control, and so we kind of took a back seat and let them take control, and thought like if we just stay quiet, maybe we'll get some answers. But now, again, that we're 5 years in and we haven't gotten any answers, I've started to make some noise for Nick. That's one of the hashtags that we also have, is hashtag make noise for Nick. And I made an Instagram page and a TikTok page, and have done a couple of podcasts. And there's I think it's KJPP. He's a radio guy. He's supposed to air something, and just trying to get his story back out there because I don't think that it ever got the publicity that it deserved.
I know in the police report, so many people talk about how much people really liked Nick or even liked working with Nick. Do you sit and wrap your head why this happened?
Yes. I mean, I've thought about it both ways. You know, like part of me, 100% part of me is like, no one would ever want to hurt him. He didn't have an enemy. There's no explanation as to why somebody wanted to take his life. And then I think like, well, was there something I didn't know? And I've said this in interviews. I knew my husband, and he wasn't involved in any type of criminal activity, and there wasn't anyone that would have wanted him dead. I don't feel like I answered your question. Okay. But no, he was loved by everyone. Nick didn't have any enemies. You can ask anyone, and he was loved by everyone.
With the reward money, I'm sure you're hoping that if someone knows anything, someone calls in. Do you feel like someone out there knows something?
Yes. Yes, I know that the men that took his life have told someone something, and my hopes is that they see these interviews and that they'll come do what's right and come forward and speak up and say what they know.
What about Nick's business partner? Have you talked to him at all over the years? Is he part of this effort?
No, he's not.
Is there a lot of frustration there?
There is.
What's your relationship like with Gilbert Police? Is it as strong as it was May 27th, 2020?
No, I'm super frustrated with Gilbert PD. Again, I think that they could be doing more. It's not just Nick's case, but I don't want to get too deep into bashing Gilbert PD today, so.
One more question that I have. Sure.
Okay.
With the reward amount, I mean, what would it mean to have someone come forward and get answers?
Do you guys want to answer any questions? Sorry, say that one more time.
With the reward money, I'm sure your goal is to get answers. What would it mean to finally get those answers, have people in custody?
Oh my gosh, it would mean everything to us. I mean, no amount of money that I put in here, or that's not what I mean to say. No matter how much money we put in, if whoever comes forward, there's nothing that's going to bring him back. So no matter what answers we get, someone comes forward and says, this is who did it, and they get arrested. At the end of the day, I still have to live without my husband, and my kids have to live without their dad. And it's not going to make it okay, but I think it would bring a little bit of closure and peace to our family, just knowing that the men that took him from us are being held accountable and are behind bars where they should be.
I know it's been 5 years, and I'm sure your communication with Gilbert was constant that first year. What is the communication like as the years have gone by? Is it consistent? Are you reaching out more than, or are they reaching out to you?
We haven't had a ton of communication. The first year there was a lot of communication with the initial detective, and since then things have just kind of slowly, we haven't really had a ton of communication with them. But I'm hopeful with this interview, and then after talking to someone at the police department today, that we're going to get back on track.
So cases like this, they affect everybody that is involved in it, from the family members to the immediate community members to the detectives, the police department. Everybody is affected with these horrific crimes. Everybody is frustrated when it comes to not being able to receive the answers in order to hold the person responsible accountable for their actions. This is a positive step forward. I want to thank all the family members for taking this leap with me and coming out, showing the courage that it takes to stand in front of the cameras and explain how this has affected you. As we look at pictures of Nick on the wall there, he's got a giant smile. He's got an infectious smile. I had the ability to look at a lot of his different videos that Alysha provided me, and all I saw was an amazing father, an amazing husband, an amazing family man who enjoyed life, and his life was taken from him way too early. We encourage everybody out there to share this story, to look at all the different social media handles that have been put up for Nick, Make Noise for Nick, everything out there, and spread this message across all avenues so that we can find the person responsible. If you are out there and you're the person responsible for this crime, you need to call in to the Phoenix Police or to the Gilbert Police Department. Let them know exactly what took place. This is 5 years. Your heart is heavy right now. You need to call in, make amends to this family that's struggling. After 5 years of this loss, they're still struggling. You need to do the right thing. All the photos that we have up here, we will be providing to media. I'll also be grabbing your information. I'll pass it off to the family so that you can communicate later on. Do I have any last questions? Yes.
I know in the police report, originally, police were looking for a maroon F-150 truck. Is that still something that police are focused on?
So at this point, everything is a possibility. We don't want to let any of the community members out there say that if you have information and it doesn't relate to a truck, not to call it in. We want every single tip to come in, regardless of what vehicle it was, what time of day it was, third-hand information, fourth-hand information. We need this information so that we can make sure that we find the person responsible and ultimately make sure that he's held accountable in a court of law. We want to make sure that we also provide the best case moving forward in the criminal justice system. All right. Yeah.
Cooper and Guadalupe Road, is that primarily a business area? Is it desolate?
Yeah, it's primarily a commercial area. Last question?
We've heard there's some additional security footage, possibly from inside the business, that hasn't been released. Is there a reason 5 years later it still hasn't been released?
Like I said, this is a very active investigation. Even 5 years after the fact, we're still actively working. Detectives for Gilbert Police are actively working on all leads. There's information that we don't want to put out there because we don't want to influence tipsters out there, witnesses, to give us or not to give us information that they might not think is related to this particular crime. Again, everything is a possibility. We need information. The more information that we can sift through, the more information that we receive, the better chances we can hold everybody responsible accountable. And again, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they're held behind bars for as long as possible. Thank you very much, everybody.